Hey everybody, it is Amanda from the Little Bluebird Gallery, and we are going to paint a fun and easy little nest tonight. So I hope you've got all of your paints ready, all the things that you need. If you don't have all that put together, then you can just watch me do it tonight and work on it yourself later. And I can see your comments here just like we do when we're working on a Facebook Live. So that's really exciting and fun too. So you guys leave me some comments and let me know that you're here and that you're watching and that you're interested in learning to paint with a palette knife. Let me see. Hi, I see someone's here already, so that's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this little square canvas, and it's being recycled. So it's something that I had painted on before. Actually, I think my daughter painted on it, and I'm going to just use it. I've put some gesso over it, and let me see. Hi, Susan. Everybody that's here, can you tell me if everything looks good to you? Is everything, the picture okay? Is the sound okay? Everything working like it should? Because that's what I would like to know before we actually get started painting. So give me an okay, or type everything looks good or something to let me know that everything is going to work. And I'm going to close this window over here because that light is too bright. Okay. Live video, right? All right, Becky says it looks great. I'm glad. Okay, first I want to make sure that you guys know that the paint that I'm using in the video tonight is a part of a set that I'm going to give away when I reach 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So Jerry's Artorama is part of our giveaway and our sponsor, and so this is an acrylic paint set that has lots of these different colors, 24 different colors in that paint set that you can practice your palette knife work on. And I really like these paints. So when I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away a 24 pack of this paint that I'm using tonight. So you guys make sure that you subscribe to the videos here on my channel, and that way you'll also get a notification when I have a new video that's posted, or when I'm live, or anything like that. Susan said the right hand supply list partially covers your palette. So you mean my plate here? I can probably do this and that'll be okay. But as long as you can see this here, then I think we'll be fine. So let's just get started. I see that we've got several people that have joined us. So we're going to start and just put out some of our paint. So I've got a list there for you of the colors that I'm using. And for this, it's going to be white, black, brown, yellow, and blue. And if you don't have these exact colors, it's okay. You don't have to have these exact names, these exact paint colors. It just needs to be generally black, white, brown, a dark brown. Yellow ochre is sort of a bronze yellow, and then a blue. So you're going to need all of these colors here. All right. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to start with the black. And the black paint is going to be the inside of our nest. So I'm going to do this kind of thin because I'm going to paint on top of it. But wherever you want the center of your nest to be, so if you wanted it to be in the exact middle, then you would put this part here. But I want mine to be over to the side over here. So I'm putting my black paint. It's going to be the middle part of my nest, just right here in this corner. And if you guys have questions as I'm doing this, you can ask the questions in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them as they pop up. Okay, so we've got our black. This is going to be really simple. For those of you who've never painted with a knife before, this would be a really good place to start because you get really messy with this and it helps you to kind of get a feel of what it's like to use the knife too. Okay, so we're gonna go around this part here with our browns and start making just little swipes of brown in a circular area all the way around. And so some of this needs to be thicker, some of it needs to be thinner. So this is where you may use the side of your knife and kind of cut into it like this. Or you can flatten it out a little bit more and make a more a wider little swipe. Okay? I'm going to clean my knife off. And I'm going to do something now that's a little bit different than what most people do when they paint. I'm going to put in some background. And then I'm going to come back and work on this a little bit more. And people ask me all the time, wouldn't it be easier to just put your background in first? And sometimes it is if you're going to put down something light, but when I'm using some really thick paint, I don't want it underneath this area here because then I'm going to have to wait for it to dry before I can paint my nest on top of it. So I've found that it's a lot easier and it will make your painting go a lot quicker if you just put down whatever it is that you want to paint and then work your background around it. Because if you want to use really thick textured paint around it, you don't want to have to wait for it to dry if you're an impatient painter like I am. And this works. So I've just mixed a little bit of that black in with my white and made a gray. And just very short little swipes of paint. So I'm doing all the way around the nest. And it's supposed to be messy. That's part of palette knife work. Allowing yourself to make a mess. It's part of the fun. Okay, so now we've got the bare bones here. We've got our background in there. And we've got the beginning of our nest. So how many of you are actually painting with me? I'm not sure how fast or how slow I should go. If you have questions, then you can say, hang on a minute, I have a question. How did you do this or how did you do that? And I'll slow down a little bit. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions yet, so I'm going to keep going. Alright, so I've already got some of this brown around the outside edge. And I'm going to take some more and I'm going to mix a little bit of this gray white with it. Just to lighten it up a little bit. And it's going to pull in some of the background color anyway when I'm doing this. And I don't mind it doing that. That's okay, because I want it to have some highlights and some light spots in there anyway. So I'm just pulling, cutting, just making it messy basically, all the way around. Right here, I'm going to lighten this little spot up so that it looks like we've got a little bit of a part that's coming toward us. So that part would be sticking out just a little bit right there. Okay, let's see. Susan says she's painting with us, but she's a little bit behind and had to gather her colors. That's okay. Becky said she's just going to watch and study it. That's okay too. And Cooper says watching and learning. That sounds great. Okay. So, Susan, if you're running a little bit behind, it's okay. But if you have questions along the way, then be sure and ask them. Okay. So now I just lightened up my brown just a little bit and went all the way around. Hi, Kimberly. I'm glad you're here. And so we've got some of our background done. I haven't done the edges yet. That's something you can kind of wait for and do it last. Got our background cut in, and we've got some of the brown all the way around the nest. Okay, so now we're going to take some of this yellow ochre, and like I said, it's really like a bronzy yellow. So that is a color that you could use too. You could use bronze yellow. You could use like any kind of deep yellow would work for this. Okay, so we're just going to do the same thing with the yellow that we did with the brown. Oh, you're welcome, Kathy. Susan says she can't watch and paint at the same time. That is a little bit hard, especially if I'm not planning to do it that way. So if I knew that everybody was going to be painting with us, then I could say, okay, I'm going to stop here and everybody catch up with me. But since some people are just watching and some people are painting, then I'm just going to keep going. But you can always come back and watch replays. When I do live videos here on YouTube, they're saved to my channel. So, of course, you can always come back and watch them. All right, let's take some of this yellow ochre, and we're going to just do the same thing that we did with the brown. And just make some light touch swipes. Don't press down with your knife, because that's going to scrape paint off instead of laying the paint on top. So when I'm painting this, I'm doing a wet on wet. This is all acrylic, and it's thick paint, and all of it is going to be wet, because I like to do this sort of in a quick, impatient painting way. I don't know how else to explain that, but I don't like for layers to have to dry before I move on to the next thing. So I've learned how to just work on it while it's still wet. So the easiest thing to do is you start with your darkest layer with your nest. We started with the black, then we move forward with a little bit of the brown, and then we put in our background, and now we are going to just very lightly, if you can see how much paint I've got on my knife here, just very lightly touch and pull some of this color around to highlight it. You don't need a whole lot. Okay. Now I'm going to get some more white. And I'm going to mix that with a little bit of this yellow to make an even lighter and brighter yellow that's going to be another highlight color. Okay, so we'll just do the same thing we did before. Just adding really light touches. And that's what gives your nest that illusion of depth, because we've got all these light, bright highlights. Okay, so you could even get a little crazy and add lots of little branches over here. It's up to you how you end up doing this, but there's really no wrong way to make a nest. So you can make it as messy as you want it to be. Debbie says she's watching and learning. I'm glad. So like I said, this is something that if you're wanting to learn to paint with a palette knife, this would be a really good place to begin. And over in my creative community, we actually did this one month. We had a whole month of birds and nests. So this was one of the tutorials that we did, but we did 4 little canvases all at one time. So I was teaching them how to do batch work. So if you work and do things like trade shows or craft shows, or you put your work in something like a boutique, then this was a quick way to get lots of little things painted up all at one time and put in your shop. So we did 4 little canvases that were similar. They all were nests. They all had the same background, but they may have been over to this side or in the middle or over to this side, just to show how you can work and do several paintings all at one time. So over in my creative community, we've got a whole month, I can't remember what month it was last year, where we painted nests of all different kinds. We did some batch work on nests, and we did some birds. So that was a lot of fun. And if you guys are interested, my creative community is a painting group where we paint with palette knives. And you can get a new tutorial video every Friday. You also get a live question and answer time with me in a private Facebook group. And you get access to all of my previous tutorials for the past 2 years. So if you're interested in that, you can just leave a comment and we will get you that link. Someone just said, is your creative community open to join at any time or just certain times? It's open all the time now. My business has started changing and growing, and so we're offering different things now than what I used to offer. I used to have an open and close not too long ago, and I hired a team that's helping me with some things, and so now I'm able to have that open all the time, and I'm adding some new offerings. As we speak, we've been working today, my team's been working today on some awesome new things that we're gonna start very soon. In addition to my painting group, we're also going to have a business group called the Little Bluebird Business Tribe, and it's opening up to new members, and it's going to be lots and lots of fun. I'm going to be able to offer all of the business advice that I've wanted to be able to offer in the past, but now that I have a team that can help me with some of the things that I have to do, I am going to be able to offer a second membership group. So there'll be one for painting, my creative community. There'll be one for business, which will be my business tribe. And I'm going to start offering some online paint parties very soon that are going to be awesome too. So if you're interested in learning to paint with a palette knife, or you're interested in turning your creative hobby into a business, then I would love for you to join both or either of those groups. Okay, I'm going to get some more white, and we're going to start making these eggs here. Okay, so I don't use a brush for any of this. I'm using a knife for all of it. And we're going to start, I'm going to put, I think I'm going to do 3 small eggs here. So what I'm going to start with is just the plain blue. And I'm just going to get a little blob of it on the end of my knife. And I'm going to start right here where the edge of the nest and that dark background meet. Let's see. I'm going to just kind of carve it out, really. This is going to be one little egg that's peeking out right here. And then we'll do another one. This one's going to be right here. So I'm just really barely touching with my knife. That's a lot of paint. It's really thick. And I'm just getting the general shape of an egg in there. So we're going to have 3 eggs here. And since part of this one is hidden, we're going to make that one a little bit bigger. Okay. And then we're going to put another one right in here. Jennifer said, "So glad to see your business growing." Thank you. I am really excited. Okay, and then we'll put our third one right in here. Okay, so all we've got so far is just blue paint, but we're going to fix them up. And if you notice, I'm kind of holding my wrist. So when I'm doing this, I'm holding my wrist steady and kind of up high off of my canvas so that I can just barely move my knife and get that paint where I want it to go. So that's another thing. In our creative community, we have some basics videos that show you kind of how to hold your knife so that you can get the most out of your painting. It's not so frustrating if you know how to hold your knife. Debbie said she's so excited. I am excited too. I've been wanting to offer all of these different things in some form for a really long time, but I just haven't had the resources to be able to do it because, you know, if it's just me doing everything, then I can only do so much. But I really believe that I can, just by sharing what I've learned through experience, I can help so many people in so many different ways if I have some help myself to be able to manage all of it. Okay, so I'm just taking a little bit of white on my knife and just kind of spreading it around on top of these eggs, and that gives it a highlight. And it's really thick paint, so it just kind of all blends together and makes a pretty little marbled look there. Okay. Laura said she's having trouble seeing. I hope everything's okay with our picture and all that. Jennifer says everything's good. That you may need to refresh, Laura. So, okay, so we've got our eggs here, and we've got some highlights added. And what I want to do now is just take a little bit of this brown, just a tiny bit on the end of my knife, and we're going to put a little bit of some shadow right on the edge where these would be kind of touching each other. So one thing that I really like about palette knife painting is you don't have to be so precise. You just get the colors in the general spot where they belong, and they just kind of work for you. Okay, everybody says the picture looks good for them, except for Laura. So hopefully she'll get that refreshed. Okay, so now you can see that gave me a little bit of a shadow in there. And now I'll go back and really highlight the opposite side and a little bit of the top. So over here we're going to need some white. And then right over here. And all this thick and luscious paint will give you so much texture. And make it look so much more realistic. Let's see, I'm gonna work on this just a tiny bit right here because I got my shadow a little bit too big in a few spots. Alright, and then you can just take your knife and put your initials, or if you'd rather use like a liner brush, if you like to write out your name. I'm going to do my initials a little bit messy anyway. But there you go. That was a quick and pretty easy little nest. If you want to add some white around in your nest, you can do that too, of course. Let me show you how to do that. You don't have to. You could leave it with just these yellows being your main highlights, but let's just do that and let me show you. Because you want to save your white paint for last because it is the lightest that you can possibly get, right? So you don't want to really put a lot of white, but you could go back in some of these little spots where you've got the light yellow and put a little bit of white beside it or on top of it, and that's really going to brighten that up, especially around the edge. If you'll put some bright white right beside the darkest dark in the middle here, it's going to make it look like this side is really coming closer to you, and what's in the background is really pushing back. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of white in this black right in here. Maybe a little bit right in here, but not very much. You don't want to overdo that. And we're going to call that done, you guys. So Teresa said, how cute. I'm glad you like it. So I would love for you to try this. I know that some of you were going to try to paint along with me. I don't know if you were able to keep up or not. This took about 30 minutes. And you can do it at home. You can watch the replay, of course, and try it. And I would love to see what you create. So if you're interested in being in one of my groups or some of my classes, then you can visit my website. It's artbyamandahilburn.com. and my creative community is open to new members at any time, and you can learn things like this. And like I said, we've got some new things that are coming very soon that I'm really excited about that you guys can take part in too. So I hope you enjoyed this, and be sure and subscribe to my channel, and that way you'll get an alert when I'm going live again, or if sometimes I add new videos that are just pre-recorded, and you'll get an alert that says, hey, Amanda's added a new video, go over and watch it. And like I said, once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away a 24 pack of acrylic paint. Jerry's Artorama is sponsoring my giveaway, and they've given us this really cool 24 pack that has just about every color you can think of in there that you can try, and this is what I used tonight when I was painting. So it worked really well with my palette knife. So I will see you guys next time, and thanks for being here. Bye.